that Mr. Pavandeep from APOL Software Solutions has been invited. APOL Software Solutions is the private firm which was engaged with MCF Raebareli made in different ways. But this smart coach experiment of MCF in which APOL role is a very unique experiment in the sense that this smart coach initiative is based on the open standards implementation. So it basically becomes kind of a vendor neutral or a technology neutral or a program neutral kind of scenario where multiple different types of technologies or sensors or measuring devices can be integrated on the single platform. Few of the listeners who would have listened to the Industry 4.0 lecture earlier during the series would remember that in Industry 4.0 also the effort was to bring in all the machinery and plant and equipment of the manufacturing facility onto linked to a common platform which understands different programming languages, which understands different type of controls, which understand different type of technologies in the area of M&P, and is able to therefore provide a universalized kind of data flow system plus information flow system. And this smart coach application also on a similar bring different technologies on a common platform so that eventually whatever system is implemented on smart coach, it becomes kind of a technology and neutral solution. I am deeply thankful to Mr. Pavandeep for agreeing to take this lecture in the first place, and I am very happy that this lecture has created a lot of interest and number of officers have taken their time off to join this lecture. Now I would hand over the mic to Mr. Pavandeep for continuing with his presentation, and I wish him best of luck, and I would request participants to keep their questions and answers noted down, which can be then later on taken up at the end of the lecture by Mr. Pavandeep. Thank you, Mr. Pavandeep, over to you.
Thank you, Dean sir, and thank you all the esteemed officers of Indian Railways. It's my privilege, and I think I would say that as a student of Indian Railways, I have been groomed by Indian Railways officers. I started working with Indian Railways at a very young age of 23. And with all humility, I can say that whatever I've learned and whatever I practice today, Indian Railways and its officers have a huge role to play in my learning curve. I was given this challenge of the smart coach as a very simple system initially. We understood this entire program to be perhaps a PAPIS plus CCTV combined. As we move forward, we started realizing the potential of the platform that was being built. And step by step, new ideas kept coming in, and step by step, new feature set kept getting introduced into it. And as we moved along, the product gathered a larger and larger scope of work. And today I can say that we are very close to what that final dream should be. The learning curve is still on. We're still developing. We're still redesigning. We're still enhancing the system. But it is a system which can see the light of day and can start benefiting Indian Railways. So I'll start my presentation with a heartfelt thanks and an expression of gratitude to Indian Railways for giving me this opportunity. And basically, Smart Coach is a step towards predictive maintenance. And it is built, as Dean sir suggested, is built entirely on open standards, which makes it very scalable and very accommodative of third-party supplies, which I'll cover in the later part of my presentation. It uses IoT technologies, and I'll use a very simplistic example. When you browse using your iPhone, when you browse using your Windows computer or from an Android phone, or you use an app thereof, or you share your contacts, it all seems to work magically and seamlessly. This is because at the back end, there are so many technologies which have been standardized. So the whole idea is that in case we can adopt all those technologies which are absolutely open and on which the internet runs, then we can perhaps build a system which is equally open. And that's where the Internet of Things technology comes into the play. And we have limited this particular implementation on LHB coaches as of now. So the same technology can be carried to locomotives. The same technology can be carried to any vehicle, any asset that you want to monitor remotely. So asset monitoring using IoT is, in a sense, the center pivot point of the transport industry. I'll start by telling you very briefly about our company, and I'll just rush through the slides. Should anyone have questions about it, I can take it up separately. We've been 15 years into high-end automation, and we take up projects with a pan-India scope. And we were awarded in 2018 as the most tech-savvy MSC of the year and the most innovative MSC of the year. The Rain Analysis magazine specially recognized us for our work on CCTV. In Delhi, we have a R&D center at Okhla, which is about 7,500 SFT. And in Faridabad, we have a 35,000 SFT unit for electronic manufacturing. 59 engineers out of a total of about 85 people. These are the on-roll employees, which gives us largely an engineering organization with more than 3/4 of the people being technically qualified. So the people that you will talk to most of the times, chances are you look at their degree, they'll be an engineer. We are a very youthful organization. I am perhaps the oldest in the team, barring one or two people. Now, the Smart Coach, I'm giving you an overview of our products. I believe a good product is what not you talk about, but what your customer loves to talk about. And ours is a design and make in India success story thus far. Our innovation was GPS-based FogSafe system in 2007. I think recently the Honorable Minister tweeted about it, that it is helping them beat fog and ensure safety and punctuality. And 90% punctuality is what this device has delivered. So this was one of our first success stories. Then we built digital destination boards, passenger announcement and information systems for Indian Railways. We collaborated very closely with RDSO in standardizing, and where most of the people were tying up with international firms and the specifications read that you need to have a tie-up with one of the 3 foreign sources, we came in and developed the entire solution indigenously, right from the scratch. So this was another one of our products. On EMU, MEMU, DEMU, we are working with almost every coach builder and giving them a solution. There's only just one name missing over there, but they have their own solution. Then we have IoT-enabled HVAC controllers. These are RDSO-approved air conditioning controllers that we build, but we have IoT-enabled them also. So you can monitor using a very low-cost modem. You can monitor your entire air conditioning system remotely. I'll talk more about it later. We built CCTV systems. The first train, Shane Punjab, that was flagged off, bore a system of ours. Today, that same system has graduated into a video analytics-based CCTV system with centralized viewing on the train and also off the train. And it's featured on the new Tejas that has been rolled out. Then we have IP-based system for train sets, which is planned to go into metro applications. We are working very closely with BHEL on their non-AC EMU as well as their AC EMUs, and our systems are featured thereon. Another system is crew voice and video recording system for locomotives, which we are currently under an approval stage. And then we have infotainment system for trains and buses. We built this system for the Gatiman, and then when Railway decided that it should be a mobile phone based Wi-Fi based system, then we graduated the system to that. So this is about our product. Now I'll come to a slightly different topic, sir. Predictive maintenance is something that I heard even as a very young professional. People said, give us something which can give us predictive maintenance. But predictive maintenance has always been the holy grail. It has been in everyone's dreams, but no one ever knew how to do it. Currently, if we look at the predictive maintenance, why everyone wants it, predictive maintenance gives you that central pivot point where you have an optimal checkpoints as well as the non-failure of the assets. So where at the extreme left, if you are increasing your inspections too much in preventive, your cost is still high. At the extreme end, if your system fails, the cost of system failure is too high. So predictive maintenance gives you that optimal location where you have the lowest inspection points, lowest deployment of manpower, and highest turnaround time for the asset, which does not happen in reactive maintenance. In reactive maintenance, you've already failed, and that's when you're repairing. So the cost in terms of turnaround time, predictability of the system, everything is too high. If we look at the operational aspect, I think always predictive maintenance will help you bring predictability to operations. I'll correlate. Currently, your rake formation changes way too often. There is one coach or the other which develops a defect, and this defect is literally encountered when the coach is when the rake is ready to roll out during a manual inspection, or there is a passenger complaint. So all this is kind of hampering operations. How can we make the coaches talk to us and tell us there is something wrong on us, something is going to go wrong on us, and plan that maintenance? That's what we are targeting towards in this. I'm sure everyone has gone through this, so I'll not take more time on this particular aspect. Traditionally, predictive maintenance has been a mirage. And the reason is the only way you could do it is you have recurring manual readings, which was a human intervention. You would have data entry operations, which was again a human intervention. And then you could trend and analyze and generate alerts and then maintain. This was a typical predictive maintenance curve prior to IoT technologies. Now, any process that has manual data entry and manual data capturing is prone to errors. And this is the reason that predictive maintenance only remained a myth till these years that we have witnessed, where IoT or Industry 4.0 technologies have started coming in. So now what we are doing is, for the equipment to be monitored, they all are added to a sensing system. A sensing system is added to all the equipment. Then we ensure a connectivity, which is usually wireless, that these sensing systems are able to post data to a data collection, processing, and analytics system. And here, security and authentication become a very important parameter. All this is rested on the cloud. When we say cloud, cloud means that there are server spaces that professional organizations are today renting and giving you access to those servers fully maintained with a lot of add-on analytics engines and a lot of add-on artificial intelligence engines, where you can start getting information almost on the fly from your data that is streaming in. And your people are able to take better decisions on how to schedule maintenance, what to maintain. And these maintenance engineers then rectify the equipment. So if you see all the process till the point where the maintenance needs to be done is now automated. Now this automation is what is cracking that gap between the holy grail, where everyone wanted predictive maintenance, and predictive maintenance becoming a reality. For this particular application, we have used the 4G network. There is a possibility of adding Wi-Fi also to the system, but that's for later because that requires a very wide deployment of Wi-Fi networks. So we have typically collected data on the train and pushed it using GSM network. Using IoT technologies, this hits a database server, and then there are multiple applications that have been hosted, and railway users can simply log in and see what the status of their equipment is. So this is a simplified view of the data flow of the system. So there is no manual intervention of a person going, downloading it from a pen drive. I have personally seen a very committed officer of Indian Railways trying to extract data out of air conditioning systems, the microprocessor. And half the times the data wouldn't come out. And when it would come out, it would be in a totally different format. And I've seen her struggle with the data collection so that she could make more informed decisions. And when we have proposed a data flow like this, I think the life of the people who want to be data driven in the system is grossly simplified. So I now start with the smart coach as a case study on an open architecture IoT system and how it has also upgraded passenger services at the same time. So it's not just one objective, it's two objectives. One, we are monitoring all our devices remotely, and second is that the passenger amenities are getting a new upgrade. There are four major constructs that make a smart coach. One is the upgrades in passenger amenities. We are giving IP-based PAPI system. This is the first destination board, emergency talkback system on the coach, which should reduce your chain pulling, and a next generation video analytics based CCTV system. Then the next construct is an onboard condition monitoring system, which is fitted on the wheels. So we are monitoring the wheel, the bearing, and the health of the track that the coach is running. Every coach becomes a surveyor in itself. So this is the second major construct. Another construct is Ethernet train networking. If you look at all your present day rolling stock that is manufactured all over the world, be it Train 18 or be it the new generation ACEMUs or any system which is any train system which is enabled with a TCMS, they have an Ethernet train network. Unfortunately, the LHB coaches are of 1985 vintage. Mechanically, they're well built. They meet the safety and the passenger comfort requirements of Indian Railways. There could be upgrades, but more or less it's a good workhorse. Now this workhorse, the only problem is that on the control side, it hasn't been upgraded in a long time. And Ethernet train network is very easily implementable on trains like these. So a train-wide surveillance and coach health monitoring system on the train is another feature that we have introduced in the latest stages with the Ethernet train network. So now, sitting in the power car or in a train supervisor station, the person can monitor every equipment all over the train. Then, with all of this, we have an IoT-based remote monitoring system, which is a cloud-based control center and the HQ, which lets you monitor your HVAC, your brake system, your fire system, watch the CCTV surveillance, download the data from the compute system, download CCTV footage from the compute system. So this IoT-based remote monitoring system comes and sits on the very top of it. There are other minor monitoring sensors also like air quality, VOC gas in toilets for smell detection, handicap-friendly panic buttons, etc. But that's a minor add-on. The idea is that if you have a sensing requirement on the coach, the highway has been constructed. So now just think of it, what you would like monitored, and put it on this highway and you're good to go. An open system on which any vendor can come and integrate. This is the IoT enabling of a train network. If you notice, there is a train to coach network, but I must correct often asked question that this networking is not essential to the functioning of the smart coach. It is an add-on feature that helps you only monitor at the end of the train. So every coach is standalone in terms of its monitoring, in terms of its control, and in terms of its data connectivity. But if you have a train-wide network, you can monitor it at the end of the train at one particular point of location. Coming to the systems that have been integrated by the Smart Coach IoT Hub, which is the PICU, Passenger Information and Coach Computing Unit, right at the center. So we have the air conditioning system which has been interfaced with it, and we are pulling data from every make of the air conditioning system. So all of them always had data logging capabilities, but that data never got extracted. Using their RS485 port, which is built into the system, we simply started querying every processor and pulling data. Now the challenge was that every manufacturer had its own protocol of data extraction. So we built multiple applications for each manufacturer, which will recognize what controller is fitted and then talk to him and extract the data. So there's a config file which tells us which application to fire for one particular coach and start getting data from different air conditioning manufacturers. Now, MCF doesn't have to care which air conditioning system to put in order to make it compatible with the Piku, because Piku is compatible with every make. And how? Because we have multiple applications for each one of the air conditioning manufacturers. It's as simple as that. Coming to wheel slip protection device, we have already interfaced with Feveli, we have interfaced with Nordbremse, and we have interfaced with Escorts. Escorts was the first one to be interfaced. There were challenges, but this was all done very successfully, and all the vendors, they participated very comfortably and nicely. The reason is it was not really difficult for them to offer their product when they are not making any changes in the firmware. So they just had to give us a protocol document and we started pulling data from them. Similarly, tomorrow, if you have a coach battery monitoring system, we can pull data. In the latest one, we were told, please integrate the fire and smoke detection system also and give us remote visibility in case there's a fire and smoke emission in a particular coach. It was done in 2 days. There was a water level sensing requirement and we did not manufacture it. A third party manufactured it. We took it from him and we integrated that as well. Then we built a toilet sensing module with panic button, with bad smell, with ventilation fan sensor, and we integrated that also with this. On the electrical parameters, there are electrical panels of Sidwal make, of SSK make, and I think Abrol make. All are now giving data to the Piku system, and very seamlessly it is coming. Again, simple, small applications running on the Piku, on the Linux operating system, which are pulling data and pushing them into the same database. And last but not the least is the wheel bearing and bogie monitoring system. So this is a beautiful sensor that has come from Perpetuum of UK, which we are integrating now with the Piku. It is a standalone system with a user interface that is common, and we are now doing a deep level integration of that. Ultimately, the aim of the entire thing is that how do we get you to a command and control center kind of a format, where your coaches don't need to be visited in order to be monitored, but you monitor them at a centralized location. And you generate job cards sitting at the control center, which every SSC of yours will get that this is the task list that you have to do and conclude this, please. So it will bring immense discipline and predictability to your operations when the system is implemented in a full-fledged format. At the brain of it is the Piku. If you notice that this is the picture on the left side is the picture of the LHB control panel, which is present in almost every LHB that's ever been manufactured. So there was a huge amplifier like this sitting in it. And what we have done is use the same place and we have put the Piku over there. The Piku has an amplifier built into it. It's still smaller than the older amplifier. This is the new age technology advantages. And very snugly, we have retrofitted in an existing coach. So your existing coach upgrade is a breeze. I don't need to make any modifications anywhere. I'll just pluck out your amplifier and plug in the Piku and it's upgraded. On the passenger amenity side, we have given CCTV surveillance, infotainment, digital destination board, emergency talkback system, PA system, and passenger information system. With all the diagnostics that you're seeing and all these facilities, the total processing power of the Piku that we have consumed is only 25%. Rarely it goes up to 35-38% CPU consumption, which means there's sufficient headroom. I have 2 hard disk drives, 2 terabyte and 512 GB, and an internal one at 64 GB. So there are redundancies on the memory. Just imagine any application that you would want, and the Piku still has room for doing more. And the day it can't, simply take out one Piku and replace it with an upgraded one, and you have an upgrade. The system will still keep running because it is on a technology curve which allows you to upgrade. You don't get tied with the technology which was built 12 years back and is still being sold. So coming to a couple of firsts. So this is the first train in India which is IoT based, which has IoT based remote monitoring system. I think this is phenomenal because internationally the latest railway systems are just about starting to think on an IoT strategy for their products, and many of them have none. So having no system, we are straight away leapfrogging to an IoT enabled system. So we are giving you 100% remote monitoring of HVAC, of wheel slip protection device, of water level, and first train, and the entire passenger information system and destination board is configured over the air using a web browser. This is a total departure from a situation where you had to carry those heavy VHF sets in close to every destination board, and then come into transmission range and then punch in the train number, and then it'll update if it is working well, if the VHF set has already not failed. So all of that goes out. We are simply GSM based, sitting on a browser, you're entering, the coach gives you a response. I have configured myself in an air conditioned room. So your entire rolling stock destination boards are manageable within 5 minutes. And it's a beautiful seamless workflow how you can create a rake, which I can come to later in a more detailed presentation of the software. On the train safety, this is the first train to have onboard condition monitoring system. There are several ways of monitoring for wheel, bearing, and track defects. Much of them are wayside, which honestly speaking, globally are being edged out because by the time the alert comes, it is already too late. The system that we are proposing, I'll be detailing, allows you up to 6 months of advance information when a bearing starts to go bad, up to 3 to 4 weeks before a wheel starts to go bad and needs critical attention. And every coach of yours now becomes a track health monitoring system because it's monitoring the vibration of the coach as it runs. As Mr. Steve Turley, CEO of Perpetuum UK says and claims, no train fitted with a Perpetuum system has ever had a bearing or wheel defect while in service. And this is actually true. His customers vouch by it because this is a new age technology which has departed from the acoustic and the heat based system, which are too late, as I'll be detailing later in the presentation. Then we have a Ethernet train network. This is the first LHB train with train-wide Ethernet networking, which allows you centralized train monitoring. You have GSM-based digital destination boards as a first, IP-based PI system and PA system. Traditionally, it has been analog voice announcements. So this is entirely IP-based, which gives you flexibility on what all you want to integrate. This is the first LHB train with an emergency talkback system. The passengers don't need to rush trying to locate help now or pull the chain in case they need attention. They can simply press a button and talk to the guard or the person in the power car and request for help, who can then thereafter talk to the person who's in charge of the train. The next generation CCTV surveillance system, and I can proudly say that today we have a video analytics enabled CCTV system which is running on these coaches. Every person who comes in, his facial recognition and capturing is done and cataloging is done. And using the MIST architecture, much of these thumbnails are then uploaded to a server where you can have a detailed analytics engine running as to who boarded which train, and when you're trying to search for a particular criminal, it becomes a breeze. Of course, a lot of server-side software still needs to be developed. This is work in progress. But given an opportunity, my company is capable of delivering it. And of course, there is a remote viewing and retrieval of coach information. I remember when we did the first Shane Punjab, we were very often called, please come, there has been a theft, download the data and give it to us. And I immediately knew at that point of time, unless we have a remote data retrieval method, and that is not built into the system, we will only be becoming data downloaders, and I'll need an army of people to assist RPF on this. So we simplified it by making it entirely online. The older system on the PAPIS just had a GPS-based passenger information system. Now the Smart Coach has a full Ethernet-based system. It's configurable using GSM. So there's no manual punching of data on the coach by the coach attendant. The PA system is entirely automated and it's integrated with an emergency talkback system. So these are the upgrades that the Smart Coach PAPI system has. The destination boards are flush mounted. Earlier, if you look at this image below, they were hung outside. So these are not very, automated washing and cleaning equipment friendly, as they would either break the bristles or they would break themselves. So this system is entirely flush mounted at the center of the coach now. Earlier it was next to the door. And this form factor has been built so that there's no change in coach structure as you have lines. I'm not a mechanical engineer, but you have, these coach lines that come downwards and they do not allow for a very long destination board to be fitted. So we split it into two lines so that it can be fitted in existing rolling stock very easily without modifying the coach structure. Just a cut in the sheet and you put a new structure in. This emergency talkback, I believe, should reduce chain pulling, and it's integrated to CCTV surveillance. So if someone pushes a button, the person at the end of the coach can actually see who has pushed the button and talk to him. We have IP-based displays instead of normal VGA displays, and every display now gives its health status, whether I'm okay or I'm not okay, and that's visible on the online platform. The PA system has integrated central manual announcement as well as an amplification system, and there is an integrated fire-related announcement and toilet panic button announcement. CCTV surveillance, as I said, is totally video analytics capable. And the old system, actually, if you look at it, it's a lot of Chinese sources which are selling their bus NVRs into the railway systems. But this system is a complete software-driven, analytics-driven platform that is built onto the PICU as a software module only. Using traditional cameras, we are able to give you facial recognition and analytics and train-wide networking, remote connectivity. The infotainment system using your mobile phone, there's a hotspot that's created. You don't need any internet connectivity. So the PICU hosts enough content cached on itself that a passenger can watch hundreds of movies while he's on journey. I have a small train walkthrough. I can take you through it because I realize I am running behind schedule on my finished target line. I'll be running through these walkthroughs, and then which will give us a quicker time. Is the background audio audible on this, sir?
No, we are not getting any audio. Are you playing a video?
Yeah, I'm playing a video.
Oh, so the video is also, it's not visible to me. Maybe it has opened in some other tab on your system. So that is why it is not visible to us.
Okay, just give me a second.
So, Mr. Pawandeep, when you are sharing content, there is an option. There is an option which says that include computer sound. When you start sharing a content, there is an option which says include computer sound. If you select that, then only we'll get the audio in the video, whichever video you are showing.
I appreciate.
In the center, you can see a digital destination.
Can you see the video and hear it?
Yeah, it's
you
audible.
can say it. It's audible.
Destination board where the coach type, the train number, and the destination and the via route are displayed on a continuous basis. This is specially structured to be waterproof and maintainable from outside. That you're seeing is the water level sensing system. So every tank system in the train has this sensor fitted, which is measuring the water on a continuous measurement basis, and we can give you an output approximately in liters that are going in or that are remaining in the tank. This is interfaced with this level indicator, which turns between red, yellow and green. Red is empty or low water level, medium is half, and the external power wheels using come from Perpetuum of UK, and this is our
these are the sensors that we're talking about, and you can see how neatly built these are. I'm personally a big fan of these sensors.
Very rugged, reliable sensor fitted right onto the existing wheels using just these bolts. The beauty of these sensors is they don't need any external power. They generate their own power from the vibration of the train, capture the energy therein, and also analyze the vibration signature. So as you can see, each wheel has this vibration sensor fitted onto it. Now I'll take you inside.
These sensors are totally wireless. There's no data wire or there's no power wire to them. Completely sealed, wireless sensors.
The coach and show you their ends.
So you can see there's a camera here which is capturing the image, similar one facing the other side, and the water level indicator which is repeating what is down there. And I'll just be rushing through this because this
camera faces the other side, the second gate, and that captures no matter which side of the platform you're entering from. Here you can see in this cabinet is the data concentrator, defects in the track, and
so this is the data concentrator. I'll be talking more about it in the Perpetuum presentation, so I'll just take you through.
Going to the toilet, it is fitted with a panic alarm should a person fall inside the toilet and not being able to help. Pressing this panic button alerts the co-passengers that he needs help and he.
This is in fact a recommendation by the disabilities, a committee which is looking into how to make railways more friendly, for disabled friendly, where they have suggested that panic buttons in the toilets are a must, so that if a person falls, he should be able to call for help.
Rushes in. The live information to the passengers on the train. Here on the PP side is an emergency talkback. Should there be an emergency that someone needs to invite the staff's attention to, you can press this button and talk to the person at the guard cab. Interface, you can monitor the RMPU data, you can monitor the PAPIS, you can monitor the CCTV footage, all from this particular location. Here, you can see. So this system has been developed indigenously entirely and runs an advanced software platform which even gives you facial analytics. So there's no separate amplifier. In fact, the PICO occupies the same space that an amplifier would otherwise. Protection device through this Ethernet RMPU controller. Further, this PICO captures the data from the RMPU controller and the wheel slip protection device through this Ethernet port, which is connected to our Ethernet switch up here. So this is our Ethernet switch connected over here, which is gathering data from the overall coach and also doing a complete train networking. This is an energy metering module which is capturing the data of the coach as to what is the energy consumption and correlating it with various states that the coach may be in. The Pico is also a device that captures data from the fire and the detection system and displays it on this particular screen and transmits the data centrally over the GSM interface. This is the power car monitoring station where we have provided a display. This display is connected to the Pico of the main system. When an alert is generated, this lets off a buzzer and the person is able to talk. And next,
Sir, your video and audio both have stopped.
I'm aware. I'm just trying to get this on. I think I'll skip the videos and just move on with the presentation. That will be better. Can you see my screen, sir?
Yes, I can see it. You may continue with the presentation, please.
Okay. So there is train-wide networking surveillance and power car surveillance, which has also been implemented as a part of the system. I would have loved to show the videos, but I think that we can keep it for later for those who may be interested. So there are sensors like choked filter sensing. In case your RMPU filters get choked, you get an alert. And there is tank water level sensing that we have shown you. In each of the toilets, there's an odor sensor that has been fitted in case there's a leakage of the water seal and the coach starts smelling bad, the system generates an alert. Within the coach, we are monitoring the PM2.5, PM10, and all of this helps us in managing the coach better. So these are some of the simpler sensors that have been deployed. This is the water level sensor and the odor CO2 VOC sensors. Now, coming to one of the most critical parts of this particular system is how we can manage with flawless wheels, bearings, and tracks. Every coach is a track surveyor with this system. So these sensors come from Perpetuum of UK. It's a University of Southampton founded company in 2004. Since 2012, they're working only with railways and only on railway systems. And the first order was for Bombardier. The company has recently been acquired by Hitachi Rail. And they have shipped more than 25,000 of these sensors to the global rail industry, helping operators across the world in predictive maintenance of their wheels, bearings, and tracks. And this company, I think the biggest strength is that 70% of their employees are engineers or PhDs. By count, the PhDs outnumber the other kind of staff within the company. So this sensor aims to give you a ride quality, diagnose the axle bearings, wheels, traction motor, gearbox, and also wheel impacts on the track. So all of this coming together in one particular application is quite remarkable. How this is structured is the bearings that I just showed you fitted on the tracks in the video, so fitted on the wheels. So these are simply bolted onto the wheels and that's it. There's no wire either for power or for data extraction. There's a wireless module inside and the sensors generate their own power. They transmit data to a data concentrator inside the coach, which was right next to the fire alert panel that you saw on the coach. And this data is then captured, partly filtered, and shipped and sent out on a cloud platform where the algorithms run and help analyze the signatures from the entire train for every wheel and give you actionable alerts on a web interface. So I'll be coming to that later in the presentation. Essentially, this is the sensor, compact, self-contained, sealed, wheel health, bearing health, and track health. These are the three indices they'll give you. And you can see the vibration signature on curves such as these throughout the train. It's a very mature solution. And the best part is it gives you a very early identification of damage. Instead of a time when the coach has already failed and you barely have time to manage your coach at that point of time. So I will just explain why vibration technology is superior to any other technology for analyzing the bearing faults, for example. So a vibration-based technology catches at the first instance. Your oil analysis comes much later and it's a chemically intensive thing. So as it is, it's not suited. Thermography comes later. The audible noise that, is the other great or another method that has been adopted comes at a very late stage just because before a thermal runaway. A thermal runaway is already too late because your bearing at that point of time will run towards a total damage within minutes or maximum 1 hour or 1.5 hours, and that could happen mid-section at a very high speed. So audible noise just about for high-speed trains is giving you small edge on it in terms of time, whereas if you look at vibration, it gives you 4 to 6 months in advance intimation that this particular bearing or this particular wheel is tending towards damage. Vibration per se is also very reliable because it's in direct contact with the wheel itself. And this early warning gives you massive operational benefit because now you can schedule and plan the maintenance of a coach that is likely to go bad 2 months later or 1 month later. So it's not like a surprise that hits you like every failure does. So it totally avoids in-service failures, and we had some very good success stories on this. Another thing is whether to use wired vibration sensors or wireless vibration sensors. And I often say that fitting the sensors in the workshop or in the factory premises of MCF or RCF or ICF would be simpler enough. But when it comes to maintain and you have wires running, how are you going to maintain those wires? Are you going to hire mice to go under the trains? Or are you going to have enough number of shunting locos to take it to a pit and then service your wiring and your sensors? So these sensors are fitted, if you see, just on the outside. So you just plug them in, bolt them on, one goes bad, bolt it off, replace it with another. So everything is accessible from outside. You don't have to go under the coach for managing this system. So there is a zero time wiring up the coaches or wiring up the bogies, and absolutely the system comes on in a 10-minute takt time. These are fit and forget. So on the power side, when there is a vibration, there is an electromagnetic generator which is built into the sensor, every sensor. This is what the structure looks like, and it generates the power. So no power wires, no data wires. Data is over a wireless module. So these are a couple of the results. So we are monitoring wheel health, bearing health, and tracking hotspots, identifying track hotspots, all in the same system. And basically every sensor is capturing a vibration data which is totally raw, which will look something like this. Then there is a little bit of pre-processing that is done at the sensor level itself, which helps them analyze the data better and gives certain parameters based on fast Fourier analysis, where we have the peaks in each one of the vibration signatures. This is done at the sensor itself. And this data is then pushed onto the cloud server, correlated with the entire train's data. And then we figure out whether these peaks are coming because of the bearing, are coming because of a one-off event, or they are genuinely there. Because if it's a event which is genuinely there, every coach of the train would give the same kind of a signature. So that analysis is done by each coach as it runs on the train. So in the end, what you get is very accurate, reliable, and actionable information with a correlation from a load of sensors, because it's an entirely cloud-based system that we are working on. So this is exactly what I just told you on how the data processing happens. So in the end, from the system, you'll get a wheel health index, your bearing health index, and a track health index. The track health is when all the coaches are going over the same spot and we pick up a high vibration at that particular point of time. We give a track health index output based on that. So the entire rake can be viewed on an interface like this. This interface is presently on the Perpetuum website, but we are including it in our website, which I'll be presenting towards the later part of the presentation. So every coach will give you an indication of red, yellow, green, which corresponds to their health state of the wheel, the bearing, or the bogie also that they're beginning to monitor now. So it's a visual representation. Sitting in a control center, you'll be able to say, okay, this coach is problematic. I don't really need to generate alerts for you. Just look at this graphic and it's enough for you to know what exactly is going wrong in the coach. Since it is all related with the GPS data, we are also able to show you on a GIS map where exactly your track is giving a high vibration, or there is a need to service your track. So that information is also coming as literally a free add-on to this particular system. This is the international experience on the wheel health, which has been witnessed by Perpetuum. So typically before fitting the system and letting it run into the operations for a couple of months, they had 14 to 15% poor or bad wheels in the fleet, and it all came down to below 2% or below 3%. So you see, the better wheels mean less maintenance, lesser damage to the track, and a better quality of operations. This is the international experience yet to be experienced in India. And I really don't need to take many of the mechanical engineers of Indian Railways through this, but in case there is a subsurface damage, or there is a in case there is a problem in the surface, at the end of the day, your adhesion on rail wheel contact is compromised. Then your rolling contact fatigue will slowly lead to higher and higher damage in the wheel, which already has a subsurface damage. So it makes sense to service your wheels once they start developing a defect as early as possible, because it very quickly degrades thereafter. This is a typical case in point on coach 18373. Sorry, the number is 373 over there. We wrote to MCF that this particular coach, wheel number so and so, has some problem. It's giving a very high vibration signature. A visual inspection was carried out, and we were told we have seen it and nothing wrong has been found. Again, it was highlighted that there is something wrong, and we suspect there is significant rolling contact fatigue on the coach wheels, primarily L4, R5, R7 and L12, specifying the wheels, that these are the 4 wheels where we're seeing something wrong. Then there was a joint inspection that was requested because it was taken as a false alert. And then the initial inspection showed minimal damage because the metal had yielded over the damage and covered it up. So visually, the person could make out. With just a 0.6 mm cut, we could see hidden damage. And this is the state of the wheels that was experienced thereafter. And after turning these wheels, all the vibration signatures settled. What exactly happened was that there was some damage that occurred, then that got covered. We saw a drop in the vibration levels, and then as the rolling contact fatigue kept increasing, the vibration signatures started yielding upwards. So this is a very typical case in point that where the human eye fails, the system generated alerts based on measured parameters, automatic measuring parameters, they don't fail. So this is the typical case where IoT can really help in non-subjective maintenance of rolling stock. So this is what Perpetuum believes, that once a flat has occurred, the flat has rolled out, the wheel condition still continues to deteriorate, but at this particular stage where the flats have rolled out, the human eye is not able to capture it, leading to immense damage to the track as well as reducing the wheel life. So now we are generating 3 levels of alerts for the customers. Alert 1 is where we tell them that things have started to go wrong. Alert level 2 is you probably need to service this. And then there's an alert level 3, do it now because it has become unsafe. So typically we expect the customer to service their wheels between alert level 2 and alert level 3. And these have served very well, and every time these alert levels have been generated, we have immense photographic evidence that actually on the track side also those coaches had exactly the same problem. So the data has been validated. This is the health distribution of wheels that we are seeing on Indian Railways, where the wheels in good health are shown there, and then there are wheels that are distributed with different levels of WHI along the axis. And this is during the COVID times where not all the coaches have been running, but the data in fact has helped us understand that this kind of a classification as to how many wheels of ours need attention and how many don't can help you in your procurement plans also. On the bearing health, bearings unfortunately go bad with much rarity and more catastrophically. So we haven't, on the new coaches that have been rolled out, we haven't had any bearing failures. But internationally, Perpetuum, this was the key reason why these sensors were invented, bearing health monitoring. Wheel health and track health came as a byproduct. So Perpetuum has had several cases where they have detected bearing health failures well in advance. So this is the kind of damage along the runner that the system is able to pick because the vibration signature becomes that very different. On the track monitoring, there is an accelerometer and a gyroscope in every sensor and every data concentrator. So wherever there's a consistent large shock in the geometry while the train is running, and every coach is reporting the same shock level, that is correlated as a shock event. And we are able to show you on a map like this as to where your system is having a high track defect for you to attend to. So the track damaging the wheel and the wheel damaging the track, that vicious circle can be broken the moment you have a system like this widely deployed. I may say that just having 100 coaches or 50 coaches running with the system will not help you achieve those results. To get substantial results, the train needs to make multiple journeys along the same track and correlate every journey's data with what the vibration signatures were for it to generate the kind of reliable track health indices for each point, which can help you in your maintenance scheduling. So these are a couple of high vibration spots that the system has already identified, and we have advised these to MCF. So already we are making that difference to identify the track defects as well. Now I'll come to the next section, which is the third-party device integrations. As I've said, the system is open and agnostic to make. You can pick up any make of a controller if it is capable of delivering data or storing data, and there is a method of extracting the data that is documented by the manufacturer. We can pull that data. So we have integrated the air conditioning system, the wheel slip protection device, the fire detection system, and the switchboard cabinet into the system. So this is typically the RMPU's status shown also on the PICU, except other than the 7-inch screen that you have. So the data from the RMPU is received in real-time basis by the system and then posted onto the server. We've also correlated them with choked filter sensors in every coach. So every duct of yours has a airflow sensing. It's a solid state airflow sensor, not a flap based one or a switch based one, which is highly reliable. And the airflow is sensed and reported by the system. The moment airflow falls below a certain level, we are able to generate an alert that your filter needs cleaning. And that is the reason that we spend thousands of rupees every month on AMCs, that our filters should be cleaned regularly. Now your refrigerant pressure, when it falls below a certain value, the system knows. Your choked filter, once it starts getting choked, the system knows. So in no time at all, you can switch to event-based maintenance agreement with your suppliers. It can save railways thousands and lakhs of rupees by just monitoring this data remotely. And this is what integration can do for you. I mean, any make, we are able to integrate it onto the PICU. Wheel slip protection device, the data logged therein. We have challenges here because every manufacturer is giving different kind of data which are quite cryptic to an organization like us. And we need inputs as to what to do with these faults and generate some kind of an intelligence into the system. But presently, we are successfully downloading all the faults and trippings that the WSPD records onto the PICU and show it to the screen, like you're seeing in front of you. So data extraction has not been a challenge. I think the next is generating information out of it. I personally have a lot of experience with the air conditioning systems because I helped RDSO design the first microprocessor controller indigenously, which worked. So they were earlier, but that system worked. And hence I know the logics and the operating conditions very well, and I was able to generate a lot of intelligence around it. But wheel slip protection device, we're still waiting for certain inputs in order to generate some intelligence out of it. This is the smart switchboard cabinet, and basically any system can now integrate into the PICU as a coach management unit. This is the application, which is the online smart asset management tool that we have built, and you can view it on a PC and you can view it on a mobile phone. So there's an app for it. Once you're authenticated as a railway employee, the app starts working for you. Otherwise, you don't get a login. And what you are getting is basically view system-wide defects that need attention, coach level and rake level configuration, so you can create your coach or your rake on virtually in this particular system. I've been through most of the other, so I'll just skip this part. This is the dashboard that you see. If you look at it, this is suitable for a PC application and just as suitable for a 55-inch or a 85-inch screen. So you can visualize your entire rake. Your rakes are listed on the left side. Root links are listed on the left side. Your rakes are on the top. Yeah, rakes are listed on the top. Then each module has a tab, and then you have each and every coach. So you can, on this interface itself, you can browse through your entire rake, coach, and equipment. So you don't need to move from one place to the other. Over here on the right side, you are seeing a journey report. So all the faults during the last journey, which is related to the PIS information, gets downloaded and is available to you in a PDF format or in an Excel format. And you can subject it to further analysis or just use it to generate job cards for your people. So these are the application view tabs. This is typically the RMPU visualization, the wheel slip protection device visualization, CCTV visualization, and this is the PIS visualization. So each equipment is visualized as to what is happening on the coach in real-time basis remotely. These are the reports you can generate on faults and on events, the air conditioning data and the temperature evolution charts, the pressure charts. All of them are available for a download and visualization. And we can build any other report that you want because all the data is available to us for further analysis. So it's not like a closed system. You mention the report and we'll generate it for you. So one of the challenges in this particular system has been how the data islands on the coach need to be bridged, because every manufacturer and every coach equipment type had its own protocol. So by building multiple ports onto the PICU and multiple drivers, we were able to resolve this. But more or less, it becomes important that we start using TCP/IP, multifunction vehicle bus, Modbus protocols. There has to be some sort of a standardization going forward on the equipments that we must start implementing. Otherwise, a system like PICU, although a simplistic application, becomes unnecessarily complex. The multi-vendor paradigm of Indian Railways is creating a situation where data standardization does not come intuitively. So the initiative has to be in the right direction on structuring these protocols and parameters. With other equipments on the coach, we simply, I mean, if someone says that I have a proprietary protocol that I would not like to share, we simply tell them, declare an API, extract the data yourself, and give it to us on XML. And this is how we integrated the Escorts WSPD. Very simply, it was done. So whether the manufacturer is revealing his protocol or he's not, as long as he's giving us an API to work with, we are good to go. So this is, in a sense, what makes the system open. Second part that makes the system open is that in case there is, at a remote server, once the data is captured on the system, the remote server has literally a digital twin of the system. And that digital twin we can use to generate any kind of reports. So the entire data flow is using very open technologies and internet. We have two more systems that I would have loved to talk about, but I think I would be running out of time in case I do not stop now and open myself for questions that are any. Just to tell you, the RMPU health monitoring system has been launched by us as a standalone system using a very simple GSM modem. So the entire workflow is now with an energy meter, a GSM modem, and you can get very, very valuable information from this system. And as a value add, we are adding the choke filter detector and air quality sensor into it. So this is another spin-off of the Smart Coach project, as I would call it. And another application that we are working on is the pantograph predictive health monitoring system, where we're putting force transducers based on FBG technology to monitor the force and the acceleration of the pantograph as the train moves along. Putting this on a normal train makes every train a pantograph surveying system. So this is another system we are working on, and we are partnering with a world leader in the sensing technology on this. These are some real life pictures of how these have been deployed, and these are all certified products as. This is my presentation about the Smart Coach. I am open for any queries that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Pawandeep. Thank you for the very informative presentation. Now I request our respected participants who have joined this session, if they have any queries or if they have any concerns, they may please raise it. They may please ask.
Good afternoon, sir. This is JP Singh. I am Professor Mechanical in IRMI, and I have one small question. Actually, a couple of questions, if you may please indulge me. Sir, that remote monitoring of HVAC systems are being done practically in train now. Would it mean that we can now discontinue the AC attendants or maybe reduce their numbers actually in the train, sir?
Sir, it is very much feasible, but for that to happen, I think there has to be a wider deployment of the system. That's number one, because successfully doing it on 19 coaches in Northern Railway and 130 coaches in Western Railway, which we are currently doing, does not mean that we are system wide. And as we move, we're still learning. So I would say that give it another year and a half, and yes, it's definitely a feasible thing. You network your trains and put a coach attendant at one location. In the next version of the system, we are also adding a module which will allow you to operate your HVAC system from a remote location. So if one of the compressors has been tripping and is causing a problem for you, you may want to block it remotely. So you will manually configure what is the coach configuration or what is the air conditioning configuration that you want, and the entire configuration gets replicated on the coach. So the manual bypass, so to say, is automated too and is available remotely. But this is next phase. Currently, we are only giving you data download, fault analysis, and some analytics built with it. Like, for example, I may share with you, in a recent coach data, we saw that the pressure cutout for the LP had not tripped, but the LP transducer had been giving a reading of 2.4. Now that is an anomaly, because below 4 it is supposed to actually trip, which implies my LP cutout was not working. So it's analytics like this that we are more focused on building right now. Replacing the coach attendant is a outcome that is more an operational decision which railway may take once their confidence in the system rises to that level. I think we should let the baby grow to adolescence before taking a decision like that. Sir.
Yes, understood, sir. I think, as you said, in the next phase, when you are able to actually control it remotely, at that time probably it will be feasible. If I may ask another question, sir, one simple one. आपने जैसा बताया था सर कि predictive monitoring is largely has remained myth so far where our coach maintenance is concerned. One of the predictive maintenance, it is not, we can't say it is exactly predictive maintenance, but yes, it is in part ultrasonic testing of axles. Now, actual testing is a part of our preventive maintenance schedule. The frequency is fixed. After 18 months, we have to do ultrasonic testing. And the outcome of the test result actually decides whether we need to attend further or not. So actually, after knowing the result, the next stage of maintenance activity is taken or not. So it is one way we can say it is a predictive maintenance. Now, where the axle and of course bearing temperature, vibration, and monitoring of wheels is being done under the system, in any way we can do away with ultrasonic testing, or we can maybe increase the frequency. Delay the frequency in which this ultrasonic testing is done.
So this ultrasonic testing is done on the rolling stock or off the rolling stock?
It is done on axles actually. It is an ultrasonic device that they use to test the cracks in the axles. If the echo is detected, which represents any sort of crack, then that particular wheel set is removed and new wheel set is fitted. Now, the actual fault detections are, very rare. Very few such cases are actually come to light, and we change it. Now it is a kind of little early to say whether if that particular type of crack is allowed, whether it would result in any vibration. So a vibration analysis can be used as a substitute for that or not. But presently, that is one aspect that we do as a predictive maintenance regime, and that is not a myth. I should say.
I appreciate your question, sir. I mean, like I say, every interaction is an opportunity to learn. So this is something new. But on my initial feeling about it, if you're testing it periodically, it is not predictive. Number one, it is periodic maintenance. And then once it passes gate 1, does it go to gate 2, or does it return as it is another subject. But it is not predictive, it's preventive. As far as the wheels are concerned, there I'm quite confident that in case there's any rolling contact failure that you can identify, these sensing systems will pick it up. If there is any change in the vibration signature from a cracked axle or an axle which has an internal crack, you could pick it up. I'll go a little bit on the science fiction spree and say that in due course it is possible to have ultrasonic transducers fitted on the axle which can test them real time, but I think that's like science fiction because its cost will be phenomenally higher. But certain type of safety inspections you'll still have to do. But in case using low-cost sensors like vibration sensors, etc., there's any parameter that you can pick up which a fault starts giving an output of. I mean, if there's a fault, the output is X, the parameter X changes, and that parameter is measurable using a low-cost sensor. That is an ideal case where you will use predictive maintenance. Am I able to answer your query, sir?
Absolutely right, sir. Thank you very much for that.
In axles, I doubt you can replace ultrasonic testing at this particular stage because I don't see it yielding a change in the vibration signature.
If it results in it changes the vibration signature, means the axle is about to fail. It is very critical at that stage, I believe. So yes, I think that should continue. One last, if I may, please.
Yes, sir.
This
please.
wheel slip protection device monitoring is done remotely. Any significant reduction in spalling or wheel shelling cases have been observed, sir? You have shown one defect that 0.6 mm you have cut after observing the vibration signature, and when wheel surface was cut by 0.6 mm, I think, and yes. Then subsurface cracks or subsurface defects were observed. It obviously is a case of spalling or what we call it wheel shelling. Now, in order to reduce the wheel shelling, that WSP device is very, very essential. The health of wheel slip protection device. but has it been established or seen in any of the study or the observation so far that by monitoring it remotely, any reduction in such cases have come to light, sir?
Sir, number one, the wheel shelling that I showed you was not because of the analysis from the WSPD. It was a direct output of the vibration sensor that we have fitted onto the wheel. So it was a direct measurement.
No, that I understood.
And as far as the wheel slip protection device is concerned, as I suggested, the data is still cryptic to us. Very honestly, the project is overwhelming for the kind of scope and scale and what can be done on this project is very overwhelming. So we've taken up the 80-20 rule on what we can do well in phase 1 and what we can do well in phase 2. But on the WSPD analysis, MCF is working with another company, which is purely building the analytics. And we are in talks with that company on how to bring that analytics onto the portal that I just showed you. And that will result in having WSPD as data as an analyzed information output, achieving the results that you're suggesting. Now, step 1 is data collection and tabulation. Have we managed to do that? The answer is a yes. So we have data from every WSPD beginning to come to us. How the analytics engines are going to build on it, give us time, that will be done too. And once that is done, you'll have more information than we can all dream about. So it's a curve that we started on. We haven't reached the destination yet. We're on the path. We're on the right path, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
I request the participants to raise their queries or questions if they have any.
May I speak? I am Ahmed Wasi Khan, Director, Production, Railway Board.
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
I have, in short, 3 short questions. First is whether all the data which you are generating from smart coaches, will it be feasible to integrate it on a GIS platform? Second part is you told about the GPS system where the fault is occurring. You can also tell the location of where exactly the fault is occurring. Means the physical location of the place where the coach is or like that. So there are practical issues of a GPS network not coming on many places on the railway track system. So is there a solution for that? And thirdly, last question, it is that whether with your experience, whether all the suppliers, most of the suppliers, as per your experience, are willing to share their APIs with you, means with railway, whenever you require it for some data analytics or something. Basically these 3 questions.
Yeah, very well, sir. Sir, number 1, can I integrate it on a GIS platform? You are tracking your coaches in real time on the system. I can take you through into a walkthrough later after the presentation, and I keep coming to Railway Board, so I would love to meet you and show it to you in person. So yes, it is totally integratable to a GIS platform. And as far as the location of fault is concerned, and the GPRS network availability, that's the 4G network, whether it's dropping out or it's available or not available is concerned, we have nearly 99.9% data coverage. And when I say that, it may shock and surprise many people. But see, this system need not be a real-time system. It's a store and forward system. So when I don't have the network, I store the data. And the moment I have the network, I push out from the queue. As a result, all my data gets replicated. So I'm not losing anything. And next is the trickiest of all parts, sir, willingness to share APIs. Initially, there was a lot of resistance. And I must give full credit to the team at MCF. They were persistent and insistent and totally professional with their suppliers. They made sure that those who did not ended up sharing, and those who did were appreciated. So as far as the APIs or the protocols is concerned, There were challenges that were faced. Many of them gave us APIs and the protocols which were not entirely correct, but we analyzed the packets and we troubleshot the APIs. So all that activity has been done, and it was one of the bigger challenges, which is the reason why I suggested towards the end of the presentation that in all your future designs, you should start insisting on standard protocols to be provided as part of your equipment. The moment there is standard protocols, I mean, you don't have to go into the most fancy of protocols, just specifying, let it be a Modbus RTU protocol or RS485, period. This is something that every PLC provider is doing. So just specifying that much is sufficient to ensure that proprietary protocols don't seep into the system and your system integration becomes an easier job. So does that answer your question, sir? Or is there something that I missed? Yeah,
thank you.
There are a few questions in the chat, so I'll just read it out. Rupesh Kohli sir, CRSC Central Railway, he has raised a question. What is the plan to maintain these smart onboard devices? We had not a very great experience on onboard entertainment system of original Tejas. Similarly, AMC model of WOSP is also not a great model. So your comments on this one, Mr. Pawandeep.
Sir, the content will always be a problem because content is expensive. In fact, on these coaches also, content is not part of the BOQ. And if I were to load the cost of the content on the production unit will not be able to meet its budget. I'm thinking as a railway man now. So the production unit can't buy the content. The typical cost of content per coach for very simplistic content starts from about 3,000 to 3,500 rupees per coach per month. So if you're buying content for 2 years, you can see the add-on cost for the system for the production unit. Can they extract it from their own budgets, production budgets? The answer is a no. So that content has to come from the operating budgets somehow. And if you can give the operating budgets and roll out the system on a wider scale, I know of hundreds of content companies who would be more than willing to jump onto the bandwagon. Second issue on the content side is monetization. Permit me to advertise, the content cost will come lower. Permit me to sell equipment. Hello, am I audible?
Sir, it appeared that you were just disconnected, but you are audible right now, sir.
No, actually, someone removed us actually from the meeting. So I don't know, that was perhaps by mistake. Someone has removed, they removed me also and maybe Mr. Pawandeep also. So Mr. Pawandeep, are you there?
Yes, I'm very much here, sir.
You may continue, please.
So the content part of the Smart Coach literally came out as a very low-cost add-on. Saw the content. The technology is not the challenge there. The content is the challenge. And as far as the maintenance of the other parts is concerned, so most of it is electronics. And as our portal matures, which is a couple of weeks away, we will be able to update all our systems online. So any firmware upgrade, any content upgrades on the infotainment side, not on the infotainment because that's heavy file system, on the PIS destination board, any font updates, any route updates, all of that will happen over the air. So I don't see much issues on the maintainability of the system.
Okay, so there is another question by sir, that GSM network suffers from data loss, especially in moving train. Also, regular cost of SIM charges would add up to a significant cost. Any idea of running cost per rake per year? for these kind of systems?
Yeah. Sir, the cost of 4G is for 6 years is on us. So it's part of the contract that we have to give you data services for 6 years. That's one. Actually, it's not the cost of mobile communication which is too expensive. It's the cost of the server system, the processing system, the cloud services, which is more expensive. And the cost of these cloud services is what we should be more bothered about, and that is significant. Now, this contract with MCF suggested that we will be getting these cloud services from RailTel and MCF will be paying for it. That hasn't happened. So we as an organization continue to host the services to support the project. But sooner or later, the cost of these systems as an operating cost needs to be acknowledged. And my personal feeling is that initially it may seem to be very high and a difficult budget to extract. But ultimately, the quality of service that will improve and the reduction of maintenance manpower that will come about and the reduction in turnaround time of the coaches that will come around will more than justify this reduction. As I gave an example, on an AMC of an RMPU, you're spending 10 to 15,000 rupees per month per RMPU. If you go to a condition-based maintenance contract with the RMPU suppliers, that cost will be significantly lower. Now estimate what the data cost is going to be. Definitely not more than 8 to 10,000 rupees per coach under any circumstances. So just by maintaining one system through a condition-based maintenance program, you're saving more to pay for the entire data costs. And honestly, sir, this challenge is a challenge of railways. I, as a vendor of technology, can bring it to you. But how this data cost is going to be managed is something that railway needs to look at and should look at as a policy measure. Personally, I feel this is operating cost and the operating railway should contract it out, not the production unit. They'll find it very difficult to adopt the system otherwise. So, and on the data connectivity on the track, I already suggested, sir, that this is a store and forward system. So when there is no data connectivity, the system is completely queuing it up. And the moment we get data connectivity, it kind of pumps it out. But in our own experience, what we have seen is, at least on some of the routes, we're seeing more than 95% coverage on the track where data is available.
Okay, thank you. Another question is that we need to decide on wayside detection versus onboard IoT devices. Would it be cost effective to go for both? And we could land with varying alerts apart from the multiple system plus huge data. So as you may be aware that we are also going for some wayside detection systems also in the Smart Yard project and these kind of projects. So we'll also get some data about the rolling stock, about the bearing health and all these things from the wayside systems also. But we are also in the smart coach, we have the onboard condition monitoring system also. So what is your take on this particular aspect, that we may have, there may be a situation that we may have conflicting data about the same coach. That situation may arise sometimes. So yes. What is your take on this particular aspect here?
Excellent question, sir. And I think a very pertinent one. And the answer is simple. How many of false alerts are you willing to live by? And the second question that answers your question is that how early on in the onset of the defect are you willing to work on? Are you willing that the alert comes closer to failure or as a predictive tool? As I suggested earlier, this is a predictive maintenance tool. What we are talking about wayside systems, inspection systems, are failure identification tools. Your failure has already occurred. Your wheel has developed enough flat to be creating a huge shock that your wayside measurement system can latch onto. The minor defects or the minor onset of wheel shelling, which requires only a 0.6 or a 2 mm cut extending your wheel life will just not be caught by the wayside system. So those will slip by. So it depends on where you want to set your threshold, predictive maintenance or fault identification. If it's fault identification, like in traditional systems, wayside systems are cost effective, no doubts. They're good for all the rolling stock, no doubt, but they are fault identification systems. They are not predictive maintenance systems. Second is on the false alerts. The vibration signature based system that we are using now, the same system is such that there are no false alerts because I'm in direct contact with the system. So I'm totally immune from the background noise. And false alerts is something which has been a greater pain point in the wayside systems than anything else. For example, a hot axle detection system is very often known to malfunction when the ambient temperature changes. No such problem with this system. So this is a very reliable system which allows you immediate identification of the exact point of problem, predictively, which wayside systems will not give you, ever. Acoustic, as I suggested earlier, is when the system has nearly failed. You can't hear it. You can hear it only when it has already suffered enough damage. The initial will be only a vibration, and we need to pick it up at that point of time for it to come into our service modality. So this system is definitely not inferior. Cost-wise, it needs to be seen whether it fits in or not. But if you want a predictive kind of a maintenance regime, wayside is a generation X, is a generation old. This is the latest gen, which is the reason why companies like Hitachi are going in for companies like Perpetuum and picking them up, because they know that the real cost of operations is much higher than the cost of the equipment. Any operational loss that you suffer is much higher than the cost of the systems that you're putting to monitor those defects.
Okay, got your point. So since we have already overshot our the time for the session by 10 minutes, so we cannot take any further questions. So that brings us to the end of this session. Thank you everyone. Thank you to all the participants who have joined us for this session. Special thanks to our SPDT Sir Suman Raj sir, who has also who took time out of his busy schedule to be part of this session. I'd also like to thank all the senior officers of Indian Railways who have also been able to join this session, having taken time out of their busy schedule. So, Mr. Pawandeep, thank you very much. This was indeed a very engaging and interactive session, and the content, I must say, the content you have prepared was very good, and you also showed us a video actually, and where we could clearly get an idea about the systems which have been installed in a smart coach. Some of the systems, not all, but some of the systems. So that was a very good video, and also this presentation was also very good. So thank you very much, Mr. Pawandeep, and thank you everyone. So that brings us to the end of this session, end of this session in the lecture series, and I request all the participants to please log out now. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me over. I have just typed my email ID on the chat box.
Yes.
If there be any query, please feel free to post to me. I'll be more than happy to answer any queries. But it was lovely engaging with all of you, and I'm really grateful for this opportunity, and much delighted to know the interest that the smart coach has generated all over Indian Railways. I must say it's very satisfying to be acknowledged for the work we have done. And thank you so much for this opportunity to all of you. Thanks a ton.
Thank you.